Welcome to Take 5 from Lord of Life. I'm Pastor Debbie Turley. Today I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind this week because I'm preparing a sermon series for our congregation based on one of the books of the New Testament called 1 John. And in this brief but powerful book, which may have been a letter, no one is really sure, John talks about the incredible gift that the incarnation of God in the person of Jesus was to all of creation. He talks about God's love that comes to us and changes us, transforms us through our relationship with His Son, Jesus Christ. And then he goes a step further and talks about how we are extravagantly loved by God in order for us to go and extravagantly love other people, to share the good news of God's love for all people as we know it in our relationship with Jesus. And so I've been thinking a lot about the nature of God's love this week and comparing that to the imperfect love that we human beings are capable of sharing with each other. And so I want to share with you a brief reflection from the book Bread for the Journey by Henry Nouwen. This reflection is called Reflecting God's Perfect Love. God's love for us is everlasting. That means that God's love for us existed before we were born and will exist after we have died. It is an eternal love in which we are embraced. Living a spiritual life calls us to claim that eternal love for ourselves so that we can live our temporal loves for parents, brothers, sisters, teachers, friends, spouses, and for all people who become part of our lives as reflections or refractions of God's eternal love. No fathers or mothers can love their children perfectly. No husbands or wives can love each other with unlimited love. There is no human love that is not broken somewhere. When our broken love is the only love we can have, we are easily thrown into despair. But when we can live our broken love as a partial reflection of God's perfect unconditional love, we can forgive one another our limitations and enjoy together the love we have to offer. As always, Henry Nouwen's words are profound and important and worth paying attention to. And so I wonder whether you and I might spend a moment reflecting today on our own imperfect love. I don't think it's very difficult for us to think about or to be able to name our imperfections. I know my own imperfections are right there at top of mind always. But one thing that I've learned through my life, through aging, through coming to accept myself as imperfect as I am, as a beloved child of God, is that too often we allow that list of imperfect qualities about ourselves to define how we see ourselves. And when we look at ourselves, not through the eyes of Jesus, but through the eyes of a need to be perfect, then we will never measure up. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the consequence of our constantly reminding ourselves that we are imperfect or unworthy is that we begin to protect ourselves from vulnerability, from being willing to show any other human being or even God our true selves. We forget that God sees us exactly as we are and loves us anyway. And I wonder why we find it so difficult to offer that gift to ourselves. When we're focused on what we believe is wrong with us, or our unworthiness, or our unlovability, we're really holding ourselves back from offering ourselves the fullness of who we are to another person, but we're also denying ourselves that gift of love that someone else wants to offer us. I wonder what our lives would be like if we could see ourselves as Jesus does, as if we could see ourselves through the eyes of the people who we love most in the world. My guess is that what we would see would be something surprisingly beautiful, because we are our toughest critics. And so one of the learnings from Henry Nouwen's reflection, and one of the learnings that I've been thinking about this week as I've delved into this book called 1 John and thought deeply about God's perfect love and my imperfect love, is that we can't really fully love another to the best of our ability until we learn to love ourselves with all of our imperfections and our shortcomings. But when we can start to see those things as just part of who we are, part of the way God created us, who God wants us to be, then some of that pressure to be perfect all the time can be lifted from our shoulders, and we can be set free from that burden, set free to love. And so I invite you in the next few moments, or maybe in the next couple of days, to think about this. What would it mean for you to accept yourself, not only with your great qualities, but with those imperfections that you see? What would it be like for you to learn to love yourself for exactly who you are, not waiting until you lose 20 pounds or get the next promotion or have a certain amount of money in the bank, but to just take a deep breath and learn to love yourself just as Jesus does? I'd be willing to bet that that would be a gift not only for you, but for those who long to love you just the way you are. Until the next time, remember that you have been blessed by God to be God's blessing to this world that so longs to be loved. You are that blessing. May you feel as blessed as the blessing you are to others. Take care.